what's up? I hope your week is off to a good start. It just started raining a little bit outside, so I apologize for any sort of trickling sound in the background. But I hope you're excited. You guys have been asking for me to review the new Drunk Elephant A-Passioni Vegan 1% Retinol Cream that came out towards the end of December 2018. So I'm happy to do that for you guys today. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Andrea, and I get many questions about how it is that I base my reviews and where it is that I get my information. So a little bit of background: I am a board certified dermatologist, board certified licensed dermatologist in the United States. And I also have a PhD in molecular biology, so I have a background and familiarity with reading scientific studies and interpreting them, having some baseline familiarity with strengths and limitations of scientific studies. And I enjoy sharing that with you guys here on my YouTube channel, which is a hobby for me. I love doing these product reviews for you guys. They're a lot of fun, and sharing skincare routines. So that's a little bit about me and my background to give you some understanding of where I'm coming from. And with that, I will get into the review. The first part of the review, I will just kind of tell you and walk you through my personal experience as a consumer using the product. And then I will talk about the ingredients, what they are helpful for. I will also then conclude with kind of my summary of if I think this product is worth it or not. But starting off, if you are not familiar, this is a cosmeceutical retinol cream. Retinols are vitamin A derivatives that can be helpful for improving the appearance of wrinkles and fine lines. They can be helpful for controlling some of the processes that are responsible for acne. They can also help improve the appearance of hyperpigmentation. They are a weaker variant of prescription vitamin A derivatives like tretinoin, tazarotene, or adapalene. And by weaker, I mean these over-the-counter cosmeceutical retinols, like what is in this, they are vitamin A derivatives that are not in a state where they can actually bind the receptors to do the things they need to do in the skin. They have to be put on the skin, and then your skin has to do some biochemistry to the active ingredient in order to make it bioavailable. And so they're just not as strong, and they're just not as robust as prescription tretinoin, for example, or over-the-counter adapalene brand, which goes by the brand name Differin, that you can buy over-the-counter here in the United States. Traditionally, retinols in anti-wrinkle creams are a lot easier to tolerate because they are weaker. They have less irritation associated with them. So they are popular in many cosmetic products. You can find them in the drugstore, and you can find them under a variety of price points. So now that I have reminded you about vitamin A derivatives in skin, I will just tell you guys a little bit about my experience. If you are not familiar with me, I use on a nightly basis to my entire face the highest prescription strength retinoid tretinoin 0.1% cream. I've been using it for well over a year. And the reason that's important for you to understand is that one of the challenges for coping with the vitamin A derivative is that in the first 4 weeks of use, users will experience something called retinization. And really what that is that the retinoid is starting to increase turnover of that dead cell layer on the very top layer of your skin. You get a lot of peeling, quite a bit of irritation, and increased redness. People experience a lot of sensitivity, and that is the toughest hurdle for people in starting a strong prescription retinoid like tretinoin. But I am well beyond that personally. I've used it for over a year now. Prior to using it, I was using over-the-counter Differin, adapalene, also a retinoid with robust history in treating acne. So I've been using these for a long time. The reason that's important for you to understand is that there should be no retinization that would occur with me now starting to use a weaker retinol alongside it. So I didn't expect to see any peeling and irritation. That being said, I used the product on my face for about five nights in a row just to see how well it was, how well I tolerated it, if it was irritating, if it was drying, if it was peeling. but I did not intend to continue using it on my face because I already use the strongest, most robustly studied vitamin A derivative, tretinoin. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense for me to continue to use this on my face. However, in addition to putting it on my face for that trial period, I also started using it on a retinoid naive area of my body, my hands. So I'll tell you a little bit about my experience putting it both on my face for that trial period and then on my hands. I did find that this was actually pretty easy to tolerate. It comes in a very nice moisturizing vehicle that is pretty lightweight, non-greasy, feels nice going on the skin. Did not have a single problem with it putting it on my face. No peeling, no irritation, no redness whatsoever. And on the backs of my hands, likewise, I didn't see any peeling or irritation. So I'm not sure if that's because the retinol itself is very gentle, or you know, perhaps you know, peeling and side note, peeling and irritation does not necessarily mean, a lack of peeling and irritation does not necessarily mean the vitamin A derivative is not working. So I didn't experience that on the backs of my hands where in that retinoid naive area with this product. And like I said, it was very, very easy to tolerate, and I actually did see kind of a nice luminosity and brightness to my skin when I first applied this on. That lasted about, you know, 24 to 48 hours thereafter the fact, whether it be on my face, it was most notable, but also on the backs of my hands. I just noticed they appeared brighter. One day I even tried it on one hand and left the other hand, quote, sham, and I did see a brightening effect with this product. Whether or not that's due to the vitamin A derivative, I can't say for sure, but I found it very easy to tolerate and had no issue with it personally as a consumer. This is a vegan alternative as a vitamin A cream, so I think that is what piques people's interest. Those of you out there who want to use exclusively vegan skincare ingredients, I think those are the people who are most interested in this. But what can I tell you about the efficacy of the vegan retinol? I really can't tell you a whole lot confidently. These plant-derived compounds are very, very preliminary and not well studied. As far as vegan retinols, I think the one that I am most familiar with is one called Bakuchiol. I don't know if that is what their vegan retinol is based off of. I suspect it is. So Bakuchiol is derived from a plant P. coryllifolia. I'm terrible at botany and pronunciation. Bakuchiol was isolated from the seed of this plant, and it was identified by a group of scientists who were screening plant-derived compounds for retinoid-like activity as far as outcomes on gene expression. So what that means is that in cells in a dish, Bakuchiol has been shown to activate some of the same important pathways that topical retinoids that are animal-derived do, and is promising for offering some of those same outcomes, but a vegan alternative. Very, very preliminary. We have one randomized controlled trial that I'm aware of, very small, looking at Bakuchiol as a retinol, Bakuchiol versus another retinol cream, and showing it to be effective at least improving the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. So we have that study and a few others actually in people, but most of the studies are in cells in a dish, meaning laboratory-based studies, so very, very preliminary. It appears to be safe. We do have one report in the medical literature that I can find of adverse effects to topically applied Bakuchiol. An individual developed a bad dermatitis on the face. So I will list that down below in the references for you guys. So in other words, seems promising that it may be similar, but we're not quite there yet, and it's not without the potential for harm. So that's what I can tell you at this point about vegan retinols and vegan retinols is what I can tell you about what I know about Bakuchiol. And I don't know a whole lot else about specifics about the drunk elephant vegan retinol as far as where it comes from, but I imagine it is some spin-off of that, some modification or perhaps that. But what can I tell you about the inactive ingredients? This product has niacinamide in it, which can really impart a substantial, although transient, brightening effect. It also has a variety of peptides in it. Peptides make fantastic humectants and moisturizers. They hold on to water onto the surface of the skin and can really brighten up your face just by holding on to water there. Side note, their proteiny polypeptide cream has many peptide humectants as well, slightly different ones, but you know, that is one of their moisturizers that I personally used and reviewed for you guys and liked. So you will get some added benefit from that in your moisturizers. And then it also has sodium hyaluronate in it, which is a fantastic humectant. It has ceramides in it. Ceramides applied at the top of the skin help our skin barrier kind of kickstart its own restoration pathway. So these are pretty good moisturizing ingredients. It has many plant-derived oils which have some great properties to them. However, they can be problematic to many people and can be irritating. This has apricot oil, avocado oil, which are rich in linoleic and linolenic acid, but not pure. Oils are not pure substances, so there's always the potential for other compounds in there that people can easily be sensitized to and irritated by. They also put olive oil in the product. Olive oil applied topically to the skin and left on the skin as a moisturizing ingredient actually has been shown to worsen transepidermal water loss or lead to dryness. So it's frequently in a lot of moisturizers, but the evidence to support its inclusion is really lacking. In fact, it suggests the opposite. But you know, a lot of manufacturers will put that in stuff. And then it has, you know, a variety of other plant things. Broccoli extract, really there's not a whole lot going for putting broccoli in things, and if anything can really be problematic. My biggest reservation with the ingredient list is it's so stinking long. The more ingredients there are in a product like this, the more potential there is for irritation and issues. You know, if I were to formulate a vegan retinol using their retinol, I would just put it in shea butter. You know, that's a reasonable moisturizing vehicle, and far fewer ingredients than this. Far less culprits for causing problems for people. And I can't predict who's going to be irritated by all of these things. But when it comes to skincare, and when it comes to particularly pursuing a course of a topically applied vitamin A, you really want the ingredient list to be minimal, no nonsense. And plant-derived, all-natural is not necessarily the best thing in this situation. So that's a little bit about the inactive ingredient list, but you know, I know from personal clinical experience that whenever the ingredient list is this long, has this many natural plant-derived things, the potential harm starts to go up. The potential for irritation really starts to go up. The shorter the list, the better likelihood of being able to stick with it. But some of these inactive ingredients, like niacinamide, like the ceramides, the sodium hyaluronate, the peptides, those are going to give you some cosmetic bang for your buck. You will see a brightening effect with those, and you know, people will enjoy using this, I suspect, and it will go over well, I would imagine. All right, so that's that. You know, like I said, problem with the length of the ingredient list. The other problem that I have with Drunk Elephant's kind of guidance on how to use these things is, like I said in my last review of all of their other products, they encourage you to add a drop of it to their Br Hydra serum in this case. In fact, the Br Hydra serum they give you a little vial of it to use alongside the intensive hydration serum. They advise you to use a little drop of it here, you know, to mix and match them, and that is not a good way to use a topical vitamin A derivative. You want to put it onto the skin in an even monolayer, and you don't want to go diluting it out haphazardly with other products. That can affect the bioavailability, so your success. It will result in patchy application, increased irritation, and it also can, you know, haphazardly introduce the vitamin A derivatives into thin areas of the skin around the eyes. So that is not a good approach to do with this. But you do need to use a moisturizer with this. That is key to success. I just discourage you, and you should not drop this into your moisturizer and mix it up and put it on your face. It can compromise the availability of the retinoid on your skin. So it's best to layer them rather than mixing them. Mixing them is not a good approach, but yeah. You know, many people may be taken aback by the fact that I always encourage you guys more to err on the side of fewer ingredients and not to be fearful of synthetic ingredients over natural ingredients. And in fact, natural ingredients, plant-derived ingredients, more often than not are more problematic for people than synthetic things. Clinically, you know, natural stuff tends to cause more issues for people. You are not a plant and your immune system doesn't like that stuff on your face, particularly when you are going through the peeling and irritation of retinoid. So that's my bias, you would say. You know, yes, I'm a clinician and that is my clinical experience, as well as my background in science makes me weigh towards evidence-based things. And you know, you may disagree with me, but where did that stem from? Well, you know, the guy who invented Retin A, Albert Kligman, he's considered the godfather of cosmetic dermatology. He is since deceased, but he came out with, you know, he invented Retin A. It's been around since the 70s, and back in the 80s, he came out with guidelines that he published in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology. Guidelines for counseling patients on using retinoid for anti-aging purposes. And he specifically says, and I'll just read this to you guys word for word, and I'll put a little screenshot here. I have it on my phone. Our guidelines for choosing among the numerous moisturizers are as follows. Number 1, expensive moisturizers are generally no better than less expensive products. Number 2, avoid products with exotic ingredients such as DNA, RNA, placenta extracts, growth factors, and oriental herbs. Number 3, avoid products that make medical claims of anti-aging, anti-free radicals, rejuvenating, nourishing, and oxygen enriching. Some so-called anti-wrinkle creams may even be harmful by puffing up the skin through low-grade irritation. We've had a lot of advances in dermatology since this article came out, but I gotta tell you, you know, not a whole lot has changed as far as a recommendation. It still holds true. Less is more, and don't be misled into thinking that all natural things are necessarily going to work better for you or be a better outcome. Specifically, Kligman even says what I've always said: there are many products available to accommodate preferences of patients. The greasier or heavier the moisturizer, such as petrolatum jelly, is generally more effective, but many younger patients prefer lighter preparations. Although of these, the oilier cream formulations are usually better than the lotions. When patients begin a maintenance schedule, moisturizers should be applied every day, even on days when the retinoid is not applied. So moisturizing is important, but the selection of the moisturizer, keep the ingredient list minimal. And you know, a lot of people find issue with the peeling and irritation, and that tends to subside, particularly if you aren't using a whole lot of other exotic stuff. That tends to subside after 4 weeks of consistent use of the vitamin A derivative. Kligman even says it here. Many women have irritable skin from excessive use of toiletries and cosmetics. Many complain of sensitive skin, but fail to perceive that this may be self-induced. It is helpful to bring them back to ground zero by eliminating the use of all soaps and, quote, treatment cosmetics for 2 weeks before the start of the tretinoin regimen. They should be strongly counseled to avoid irritating cosmetics such as astringents, toners, harsh soaps, peelers, cleansers, abrasives, or scrubbing solutions. Facial saunas are to be avoided. Washing should be only once or twice daily, purely for comfort and for removal of makeup, using only the fingers and warm water. So, you know, not a whole lot has changed since '89 as far as counseling and recommendation of the skincare for use with tretinoin. So I know I'm not alone in this. Yes, there have been a lot of advances in the different retinoids, the different vehicles, but by and large, keeping it minimal, keeping it simple, it really allows for the best outcomes. So, you know, as a consumer, I had no issue using this. I don't particularly have sensitive skin though. You know, as I said in the beginning of the video, my stratum corneum, the top layer of my skin, is already retinized. So, you know, for me to use this and have no issue with it is not going to hold true for many other people out there. So that being said, you know, when you read reviews for products like this, particularly retinols, exercise some caution and prudence in interpreting those reviews, because you don't know what background that person's coming from. Are they using a concomitant other exfoliant, some other harsh abrasive, you know, giving them a bad result? Or, you know, do they have other things going on in their life that might explain why their skin is getting better? You know, this time of year, people frequently get sick and get put on antibiotics. That's, you know, that's not uncommon. And it's one thing, antibiotics are actually anti-inflammatory, and people's skin sometimes looks a lot better after they've been on antibiotics. And so they may be falsely attributing, you know, benefits that they see in their skin to a product when in fact, you know, well, they were actually on, you know, a short course of oral antibiotics for something unrelated, and that's why their skin looks a little better transiently. So I would always heed a lot of caution when you interpret consumer reviews, because you don't know the background of the person at all. And there can be numerous factors biasing their review either positively or negatively. Do I think the A-Passioni cream is worth it? All right, so if you are somebody wanting to pursue an over-the-counter vitamin A derivative for anti-aging purposes or for improving acne or hyperpigmentation, if you are just wanting to pursue that ingredient, I don't think this is worth it. Very poorly studied without the long-standing track record. You know, I'm using tretinoin. It is available only by prescription, so that's not going to be available to everyone, but that has the most evidence for not only acne, but also anti-aging purposes, improvement of wrinkles and fine lines, boosting up collagen production in the deeper layer of the skin, thickening the layers deep within the skin so that they are stronger, more reinforced, clearing out pre-malignant skin cells, helping to turn over atypical skin cells. I mean, it's got a battery of things that we have many years of both scientific and clinical data to support. But over-the-counter Differin, which is adapalene, it binds to many of the same receptors effectively in its active state as tretinoin. It is FDA approved for acne, not for wrinkles and fine lines. We don't have as much data with over-the-counter Differin as we do with tretinoin for wrinkles and fine lines, but we do have some data, whereas we don't have that kind of data with the vegan retinol. With adapalene specifically, this 0.1% adapalene, which you can buy over the counter, and 0.3% adapalene have been examined for outcomes in anti-aging. They're very well this, unlike tretinoin, by the way, is very easy to tolerate. Very little peeling and irritation occurs with this. It is one of the most easy to tolerate formulations out there. So adapalene, very easy to tolerate, and in studies, well tolerated. For example, in a study of 90 patients ages 18 to 85, only one person had irritation from this. That's pretty good. Only one person had irritation from, it wasn't actually this, it was the higher percentage strength of adapalene, 0.3. After 9 months of use, there was a marked improvement in age-related discoloration. So while adapalene, brand name Differin, does not have the body of literature that tretinoin does to support its use for anti-aging, it does have a heck of a lot more than A-Passioni. I mean, adapalene came out in 1996, and A-Passioni came out at the end of December of 2018. So, I mean, this has been around for a lot longer than A-Passioni. All right, but A-Passioni is vegan. So, you know, this might be a choice for you, but I can't predict how effective it is. So I think you are a particularly vulnerable demographic in this Bakuchiol vegan vitamin A. You're a particularly vulnerable demographic because you can get hit with a higher price point for a less evidence-based ingredient just by virtue of the fact that you want to minimize animal harm. So, you know, I would leave that up to you. Is it worth it to pursue a poorly studied ingredient just solely because it is vegan over a well-established one, or over nothing? You know, it's hard to say. This is also really expensive. I don't think it's worth that price point. From those of you who want vegan-only skincare, one thing that I was curious about and investigated, it says 1% vegan retinol, but it doesn't say the entire thing is vegan. And this has sodium hyaluronate in it, which can be animal-derived, and it also has a variety, it has ceramides, which can be animal-derived. So I actually contacted Drunk Elephant and asked them specifically, are the inactive ingredients in your A-Passioni, are they in fact vegan? And they confirmed yes, they are. They confirmed that those specific ingredients were, and that the entire formulation is. So I have to say, Drunk Elephant, you know, I am a consumer. I'm not sent their PR or anything, or, you know, I don't think they know I exist. But the times that I have reached out to them as far as customer service, they have been very, very responsive and very, very kind, and have gotten back to me very quickly. So I've had no issues. So as a company, I don't have any issue with Drunk Elephant. Personally, as a consumer, I've enjoyed using many of their products. But clinically, I have to say I disagree with the long ingredient list. I think it has the potential to cause harms for people, and I disagree with how they counsel people on how to apply the active ingredients. You know, objectively speaking, I can't tell you guys, yeah, plunking down $74 is worth it over $14. $74 for something that has less than 6 weeks of use, no clinical studies in the medical literature that have been peer reviewed. That's key. Not just Drunk Elephant clinical studies, aka consumer studies, but true clinical studies with vehicle controls to really attest to the efficacy of this. Without that, and the price point, it's really hard to say, yeah, go plunk down your cash on it. I think the vegans out there who want exclusively vegan ingredients, you are a particularly vulnerable demographic in this vegan retinol market, because they can sell you something at a higher price point because you want to minimize animal harm. But whether or not that ingredient they're selling you is effective, I can't say confidently. And so I've got to warn you guys about that. Otherwise you might go pursuing this thinking that you are doing the version of a vegan retinoid, but really we don't have that kind of data to support that. And from a purely cost perspective, for you guys out there who are just interested in it for anti-aging purposes, or interested in a retinoid for anti-aging purposes, use the thing that is biologically active and inexpensive, and has been around since '96, so that's a lot longer than A-Passioni. So yeah, as a consumer, I had a great experience using the products, have continued to use them on my hands. Do you see that brightening effect? I had no issue with them, but given my background skin and where I'm coming from, you can see how my personal experience, just as a consumer, is kind of skewed towards having a better outcome than, say, somebody who's retinoid naive, or has sensitive skin, or is already using a lot of other things. And I haven't been using it for very long. So I would also, I would caution you against, not only would I caution you against, relying on consumer reviews of benefit or harm from using a particular product because you don't know the person's background, but retinol, to actually have true ongoing sustained benefit, it needs to be used consistently for several months before it really starts to have maximal effect. So this hasn't been out long enough for it to have maximal effect in anyone. So I would withhold judgment, but hopefully this review right now kind of helps you in guiding how you want to spend your money. So that about concludes my review of the A-Passioni Retinol Cream. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I'm a board-certified practicing dermatologist, but this video is in no way intended as medical advice or treatment advice. Always ask the opinion of your treating healthcare provider. This is merely me sharing my experience as a consumer and discussing the ingredients and discussing the medical literature about the ingredients, but is in no way a substitute for what you've been told by your treating healthcare provider, nor should it ever be. So that is always a disclaimer in my description box and on my channel page for those of you who are new. This is really just me sharing my hobby and my passion for skincare and my knowledge base, but it is not in any way, shape, or form medical advice. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.